crack on. There's nothing to worry about because well-being is all in the hands of the government.
Yeah, so we start here. We start in Scotland. It doesn't stay in Scotland because none of these agendas are coming from our nations. They're all coming from much higher up. So we have here the Wellbeing Economy Government, so WEGo, an announcement from the Scottish Government. They say we're making the transition to a wellbeing economy. This is a top priority for the Scottish Government. And this means building an economy that operates within safe environmental limits and serves the collective, interesting word, well-being of current and future generations. Our economic transformation will reshape our economy, delivering a just transition to net zero. So you see carbon ideologies at the heart of this. A nature-positive economy, whatever that means, and based on the principles of equality, prosperity and resilience, not any longer based on the principles of economics. So they go on and they say, well, look, we've set up this group to enable cross-government engagement. The group was launched at the OECD's World Forum in Incheon in South Korea in 2018. And it comprised Scotland, Iceland and New Zealand. So not exactly a huge international group. And it was being run essentially by Joe Stiglitz, the economist, former advisor to the Scottish Government, incidentally, and part of the OECD's high-level group on the measurement of economic performance and social progress. And it's now grown. It now includes Iceland, Wales, Finland, Scotland and New Zealand, and Canada are also participating. So you see here all the woke countries are lining up for this. Now, first things first, the Scottish Government has a bit of a problem with well-being. It can't define it. No one can define it. More on this just momentarily. But if we go back to the judgment on named person was all based on the well-being of the child, and the Supreme Court said well-being is not defined. The only guidance is provided by listing 8 factors, the Shinari indicators, and it says that they are themselves notably vague. So they couldn't define it then, they can't define it now. But it's starting to attract some attention. So here we see a newsletter, a very excellent newsletter on Substack, and I encourage people to go and look at this. It's Igor Chudov, and he's writing, the World Economic Forum-supported Wellbeing Economy is a reincarnation of Marxian totalitarianism. And he starts off with the famous WEF line on, you will own nothing and you'll be happy. And this is what it's all about. So, one of the areas he looks at is Australia. So we've been looking at Australia as well. And here we see the Australian Government Treasury, interesting department, is they're running the first well-being framework. And it's all about measuring what matters. So their framework is based on 12 domains, not the 8 Shinari indicators. They've expanded it. 12 domains of well-being, including health, education, work, relationships and community. So you see the totalitarian nature of this. Everything's included. And the health reference here, Brian, of course, is mental as well as physical health. So what you think, how you think, all becomes part of the well-being economy. And they continue that measuring well-being is challenging, as many of the factors that contribute to it are difficult to quantify. Yeah, this is the problem. They can't define it. Brian, you want to come in at that point?
Well, only, of course, that if you can't define it, it gives them unlimited flexibility as to what they're actually bringing in and how it's going to run. From their point of view, that's perfect.
So when they're saying measuring what matters, they are then referring to the OECD, the Organisation for Economic Community Development, their well-being framework, Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, beg your pardon. They've got a well-being framework that all these various countries are borrowing from. And you see that it's including health and housing and income and wealth and environment and everything. It's absolutely everything. And links from that document then take us to, again from the OECD, well-being and mental health towards an integrated policy approach. So this is looking at your mental health, not that they can define that particularly well either, and how it's being measured. And this is going to be part of the measurements that will replace GDP for measuring how the nation's doing. These are all indefinable, intangible things, and they're all being rolled up into this measure that's going to be used to dictate government policy and essentially to rule us. So we go nip back here to Igor's newsletter, and he asked the question: can we measure the above person's happiness or well-being using the exact same scale for each of them? I hope that you, my dear reader, would agree that it's going to be that it's crazy to apply a one-size-fits-all scale of happiness to everyone. Yet this is what the WEF and their ideological parent, the Club of Rome, want. In the book Earth for All, the Club of Rome then goes on to define its version of well-being, and again, it's just a list. They have no definition. It's a list: dignity, nature, connection, fairness, participation. So they're setting that well-being as the ultimate goal for economies. So this is going to be, it's the economy stupid, this is going to run everything worldwide. They've come up with an average well-being index. This is an alternative to GDP. And when they're talking about money, they're quite specific. They say a recent study from the Earth for All initiative confirms that the fulfillment of human needs and aspirations does not increase considerably when GDP per person grows beyond a threshold of $15,000 per person per year. So that's how much you'll be allowed. After that, you're just being a blight on the environment, I'm afraid. And of course, this is all about controlling the narrative as well, because you can't run this Marxism out if people are going to point out that it's Marxism. So in the same document, the Club of Rome are very concerned. They're saying that the biggest problem of our time is the inability to distinguish fiction from fact. Now, we would probably agree with that, but we would have the opposite view, because all of the COVID initiatives, this was all based on fiction presented as fact. When they say distinguish fiction from fact, they're reversing the truth, right? They're saying the biggest problem they have is people are sticking with facts and are not adopting the Club of Rome's fiction. And just to finish off here, we've got Igor Chudov is commenting that the Marxian economy demands equality of outcomes, and he then describes how they're looking at a great leap forward, a version of the Chinese Communist Party's Great Leap Forward. This plan is named the Scenario Great Leap. This involves an abandonment of Western style of thought called decolonizing the mind, and an introduction of measures promoting extreme income equality. And they go on to, he's got an extract from the Club of Rome book here. He says that by 2050, or they say, Club of Rome say, by 2050, the top 10% will take less than 40% of national incomes in all regions. And there'll be universal basic dividend, or universal basic income is going to be brought in. So this is the new form of the communist control of how much everyone gets and how the entire economy works. And so this is universal basic income, which we've talked about in the past. And beg your pardon. And that's how much that you're going to be allowed. It's going to be very tightly controlled. And the Club of Rome finishes off by saying those in the wealthiest countries are disproportionately responsible for the world's environmental impacts. Much of elite consumption places excessive costs on the rest of society. So it's all justified based on the climate alarmism, but it's all about centralized control over the economy, and over the economy now defined as everything, including your mental health.
But if you see it for what it is, you're a conspiracy theory, and King's College is going to be after you, as you will see a little bit later in the news. But of course,